There are literally tens of thousands of books on how to invest, how to grow your money, how to get rich, how to help your career. That topic is endless. There is virtually no book out there written about spending money. And I think the reason why is because I think we intuitively think nothing needs to be said, because the answer should be obvious. More is better, fancier is better. That's the end of the topic. But if you know particularly wealthier people, I mean, it affects everybody, but particularly wealthier people, you know it's not that simple. That the correlation between how much you spend and how happy you are, it can exist. Everyone can spend money in a way that's going to make them happier, but it is not as simple as you think. And as I started digging into it in my own life, of when have I been envious of other people, of their material possessions? Why was I envious? When have I been jealous? Why was I jealous? What kind of spending made me happy? What left me completely flat? It's a much more complicated topic than it seems at the surface. If you're unhappy with your life, that if you had more money, those problems would go away. Sometimes it can be true. It's not automatically false. It's just easier to assume that that's true than it actually is. And so I guarantee you that every single person listening to this right now has some degree of that. If I had a little bit more money, my problems would go away, even if they don't necessarily know it or not. So much of spending is a psychological exercise. There's an itch that you're trying to scratch, and that manifests in so many different ways. And so I've often thought of money, look, is money the root of society, the core of society? No. There's obviously a million things more important than money, but I do think it's the clearest window that we can look through to try to figure out what's going on in our own lives and other people's lives in society. It shows very starkly what people value, what they're scared of, what they're aspiring to become. There are many more elements to the puzzle. Your health, your friends, your family, we can go on that forever. But money is a very clear window that if you see how somebody engages with money, you're like, oh, I understand your insecurities, I understand your aspirations, I understand your self-confidence, I understand what you think of other people. But the point is that it's a psychological itch. It's not just, I want the nice car because nice cars are better. There's a social signaling. You're signaling to others, you're signaling to yourself. It's a trophy for yourself of what you've overcome. The more I dug into it, the more it was so clear of like, spending is not just on material stuff. It's not just, I want to buy this car or this house or these clothes or these jewelry because it's nice. It's, I'm trying to send a signal to others or to myself of what I've overcome. One of the ways I thought about this in my own life was, if I was on a deserted island with maybe just me and my family, nobody could see how we were living. Nobody can see your house, nobody can see your car, nobody can see your clothes, nobody can see your jewelry. How would I live? For me, and I think most people in that exercise, you immediately gravitate away from status and towards utility. Like, I would not want a Lamborghini. I'd probably want like a pickup truck, something that has like more utility. If nobody could see it, I would just want utility. I would not want an enormous house. I would want a house with a nice view, because I'm not trying to show off to other people. I just want something that is calming and serene to myself. And so once you start seeing the stark difference between utility and status, once you force yourself to see it, you're like, oh, it's everywhere. My own personal desire to show off materially happened when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And looking back, I didn't know this then, but the reason why is because I had nothing else to offer the world. I had no intelligence, I had no wisdom, I didn't know how to love anyone. I had nothing else to offer. If you're trying to get attention and respect is, well, look, I have no intelligence to offer, I have no wisdom to offer, maybe people will admire me for my car. And now that I hope, I hope to today, 20 years later, I have a little bit more to offer to my wife, to my friends, to my family, to employers and customers, whatnot. Then my desire for those things has gone down. Not to zero, but it's gone down. There's a great Warren Buffett quote where he says, success in life is when the people who you want to love you do love you. And key to that is like, you have to ask the question, like, who do you want to love you? And for a lot of people, the quick knee-jerk reaction is everybody. And so you want to have a nice car, nice clothes, nice jewelry, because you think everyone's going to stop and stare. When I drive this down the road, people are going to stop and say, look at that guy. Look at her. That's amazing. Like, they're so successful. I admire them. I respect them. And by and large, that is almost never true, because no one's thinking about you as much as you are. They're not paying attention to your car or your clothes or your house. They're busy worrying about themselves. In your 20s, people worry about what other people think of them. In your 30s, you say, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. And And in your 40s, you finally realize the truth, which was nobody was thinking about you the whole time. They were busy worrying about themselves. And look, that's not black and white. Of course, people think about you and look at you and sometimes judge you, but not nearly to the extent that we think. And that was why I get back to the exercise. If nobody was watching, how would I live? The truth is because virtually nobody is watching, except the people who I really love and admire. And they're going to admire me for things that have nothing to do with the kind of car that I drive or the clothes that I wear. Life's a competition. It doesn't matter how well I'm doing, it matters how well I'm doing relative to you. It doesn't matter how big my house is. If I'm trying to signal, all that matters is my house is bigger than yours. That's true for all wealth. There's no such thing as you are wealthy once you have X number of dollars. That does not exist. Everything is relative to other people. And the truth is, like, we live in a world of such material abundance where the majority of people listening to this will have some sort of shelter and a car and can buy clothes and whatnot. And because relative to a lot of history, we live in material abundance. The competition, the arms race for bigger, nicer things is extraordinary. And it's way more powerful and potent today than it's ever been for two reasons. One is social media. So I am now aware of the homes that other people live in, the cars that they drive, the clothes, the vacations that they take. I'm now aware of it in a way that we were not 15 years ago. The other thing is, because the internet has democratized access to audience and attention, the ability to become extremely rich is much more powerful than it's ever been. It's still rare, of course, but it's easier today than it's ever been to become very, very wealthy, even if only a small number of people are doing it, because your potential customer base is now the entire world. 100 years ago, if I was a businessman, my customer base was whoever lived in my town. Now, if you're a businessman, your customer base can be the entire world. And so it's easier to make a huge fortune. And because of social media, once you make that fortune, people are probably going to know about it, because a lot of those people who become very rich are going to say, look at how I'm living. And so you have this like trickle down aspiration of everyone else being like, my definition of wealthy. If you're a young person today, a young person's definition of wealthy might be a multi-billionaire with a private jet and a private island, where I think 80 years ago, people's definition of wealthy was a 3-bedroom house and 1 car and a happy family. And so we live in a world where like aspirations have inflated by such a dramatic degree that the arms race of spending just gets that much higher. And Elon has even said, he's like, you might think you want to be me, but you don't. The clip where he did that, he points to his head and he's like, it's a tornado up here. Yeah. And I think it's true that for most people who are extremely successful, who are the ones that people tend to look up to, extreme outlier successes, a lot of the reason they're so successful financially and in their career is because they've devoted every second of their life to that career, which most of the time comes at the expense of everything else. So they are very successful, made a lot of money, and that came at the expense of their health, their relationships with their spouses, their children. So I make the point in the book that of the top 10 richest men in the world, there are a cumulative 13 divorces. And it's a small sample size, like you can't really say that much with that, but this is a group that is almost universally admired, particularly among young men. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, how amazing would it be to have that much money? But if you dig into their whole life, not just the house and the jet that they have, but if you look at holistically their entire life, you're like, I don't know. It's not that great. It's one thing to admire someone if you can pick bits and pieces. I want his house and her car and his career and his physique, but you can't pick bits and pieces. You have to take the whole thing. And once you take the whole thing, you realize that like a lot of the people who you may have been looking up to either did not have a better life than you did, or it was just marginally better in a way that was easy to overlook. Everyone is jealous of what you've got. Nobody's jealous of how you got it. I think it's just so easy to overlook. One of the things I write in the book is what's called the reverse obituary, which is it's a very good, helpful exercise to write down. It's kind of morbid, but what do you want your obituary to say? Kind of a weird thing, but for me, everyone's different. But for me, I would want it to say, Morgan was a good father, a good husband, a good friend, helped his community, was a good worker. That's what I would want it to say. Never in a million years in that obituary would I want it to say what my income was, how big my house was, how many times I went on vacation, how many horsepower my car had. Like, it's ridiculous. you instantly drift towards the things that you know you actually want in life. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but I found it a helpful thing because you realize that it would be completely absurd to put the things that I might be chasing in my life in my obituary. And so if in any given day, in any given year, you're like, I got to earn a higher income and I want to buy a bigger house and I got to need a new car and do you see they came out with this watch? But at the end of your life, you know that's not going to matter. What's going to matter is, were you a good spouse, a good parent, a good worker? Were you honest? Were you a good friend? Were you funny? That's it. You know that's what's going to matter because that's what you want in your obituary. Money should be a tool that you use to become a better version of yourself, to become a happier, more content version of yourself. But when it's controlling your personality, it's no different than like any other addiction, where it's forcing you to do things that you otherwise don't want to do. And that can manifest on either end of the side. Either people can't stop spending or they cannot spend enough. A lot of financial advisors will tell you one of the biggest problems that they have are clients who have saved enough money for retirement. Good job, you saved for 40 years. You maxed out your 401k, you did everything you were supposed to, and now you're 70 years old and you have enough money to travel and play golf, and you won't do it. And I think it's because they become so accustomed to the identity of, I'm a saver. Every month I save and every month my net worth goes up. And they cannot bring themselves into switching gears and going in the other direction. And for a lot of those people, the money is in full control over their identity. It's telling them how to live, what to like, what to aspire to, what to enjoy. The money is totally in control of their personality. And it's just as dangerous and just as detrimental as you when you were a teenager of I can't stop spending. Both of those the money is like playing the marionette doll of your life. It's telling you exactly what to do and when to do it.
Even if you have $100 in the bank, that is a higher level of independence than if you had zero, and certainly if you had negative, if you were in debt. And so you realize that literally every dollar that you save is a little claim check on your future that you control that somebody else doesn't. And I think it's an important mindset, like redefining independence like that it's on a spectrum and every single dollar is an independence claim check. For me, I've always viewed it like I've always been a big saver for my whole career. And I've always viewed it as not saving money for delayed gratification. I viewed it as purchasing independence for which I get value out of right now, today. There's nothing delayed about saving this money because I like waking up tomorrow morning and being like, there's a big cushion here. And so not if, but when something bad happens in my life, whatever it is, whether it's a personal life or the macroeconomy or, pandemics, whatever it might be, like there's a big gap. There's a wide channel of outcomes that I can endure. And the less independent, the less savings, the more debt you have, the narrower that channel of endurance becomes. And so within that channel is like all the ups and downs of life, individual and macro. And the wider the channel is, the more that you can endure. And so much about compound interest, not just with money, but with relationships and careers and friendships, comes down to what can you endure? How many unknowns and the depths of those unknowns can you endure and survive? And so much, I wrote this in Psychology of Money. If you have to sum up doing well financially in one word, I think it's survival. That's true in your career. That's true for savings. That's true for investing. Absolutely. It's just survive. It's just what can you endure? What can you put up with? And when you view it like that, you realize that like every dollar that you save is a claim check of independence that will serve you, not just in the future, but today. 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth was accumulated after his 65th birthday. That's just how compounding works. The numbers get nuts at the end. I think what can be true psychologically, though, it's just like the psychology of doubling your net worth. I think the truth is I felt the richest I ever have when I had like $1,000 in the bank when I was a teen. I remember just being like, that's like, I can't even fathom that much, because the gap between a year earlier, I'd probably never had more than $20 in my banks, and I have $1,000. Like, what? I can't even fathom that much money. And so, like, psychologically, it's just the gap between. This is true for a lot of things. You get pleasure out of contrast. It's just what do you have now and what are you doing now relative to what you were doing before? And so I write about in The Art of Spending Money, I know a guy who has a private chef, and he's basically getting Michelin star meals, 3 meals a day. And it's easy for me and you to look at that and being like, that is amazing. What a life. Like, that is nuts. Guarantee you he does not feel that much from it because he has no contrast. He's not eating taco. He's not eating stale bread for breakfast the day before. And so when everything is great, nothing feels great. It's all what you want is contrast, contrast, contrast. And so I think about that a lot in terms of like, it's not necessarily how much you have, it's just the contrast to what you have before. Related to that is that people are very psychologically triggered by downgrades because you're still contrasting it to what you used to have. And everyone has probably heard the studies of like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a net worth of $1 million when you used to have 2 million? Or would you rather have a net worth of 500,000 when you used to have 200,000? And psychologically, most people would rather have the former. The contrast of being like, I used to have 2 and now I only have 1, that leaves you feeling much poorer than if you had 500, but that's your all-time high. And so I think people are just very sensitive to the psychology of downgrades.